Hello, my people. Welcome back again to this channel. Thank you so much for being with me. Now, guys, I want all of you to come together and listen to what I'm about to tell you guys. This is actually shocking. Now, if you know you're doing something, just keep it aside and come and listen to what I have to say. Now, something explosive just came out of Abuja. A sitting member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Obi Agoche, has revealed secret negotiations happening behind the scenes over Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case. This is not speculation, no. This is coming from someone who sits inside the Nigerian legislature and has been attending the court session himself. He has been coming to court. If you guys actually used to see Mazen Nnamdi Kanu in court, you will definitely see Obi Aguche. Now, this Obi Aguche is a member of House of Representatives representing Ukwano and Omaya Federal Constituency. He is a Labour Party member known for openly attending Nnamdi Kanu's court section. Now, he's not a random commenter, but a federal lawmaker with access to inside discussions. There are a lot of discussions going on between the government and the family of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. There are a lot of discussions going on between the government and the family of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. There are a lot of discussions going on between the government and the family of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Efforts are going on to find a resolution to his prolonged detention. Now, I'm going to be telling you guys what is happening. Obi Aguche hinted that it might be tied to these negotiations. Government might be using the break to finalize terms. Now, whatever negotiation they are doing, one thing is clear: Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer. His continued detention is illegal under both Nigeria and international law. Now, these are the questions that many people have been coming out to ask me. They said, is this a sign that the government wants to quietly end the case? Will these negotiations lead to unconditional release or some form of deal? Should the family even agree to ADR when the charges themselves are faulty? Now, this is what I have to tell them in all these questions they have been asking. You know that they have been telling us that the Nigerian government and Mazen Nnamdi Kanu are going to settle out of court, right? But Nigerian government have actually been saying it is a lie, that they will never settle out of court in Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case. But according to what Obi Agoche has been saying that the Nigerian government are now negotiating with the families of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and also his legal teams for the release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. So that is going to tell you that maybe something may actually be going at the back of the court. They may be actually be negotiating how Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is going to be released. Now, do you think these behind the scenes negotiations are genuine or just another delay tactic? I want you guys to actually drop your comment below. Tell me what you really think, because we will be discussing about it here. Now, another question I'll be asking is, should the family accept ADR or insist on full court victory to prove his innocence? That is what you should be asking. Now, there are a lot of discussions going on between the government, the family of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, and his lawyers. The emphasis now is on seeking a peaceful and diplomatic resolution that prioritizes national unity and justice. Now, several behind the scenes discussions are currently taking place, centered on exploring a political solution as opposed to a strictly legal or security based approach. This means they are considering settling the case outside the courtroom using political negotiations. That is the plan now. That is the plan between Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's family. Now, the big question here I'm going to ask you guys: if there's an out of court settlement, what exactly will it look like? That's the question. And would there be conditions attached to his release? Is the government going to demand compromises from Nnamdi Kanu or IPOB, or would this be a clean, unconditional release, acknowledging his innocence? I've said it many times here. Whatever resolution they are planning, the truth remains that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer to them. His detention has gone beyond the law. It has gone beyond the law. Now, like I told you guys, this Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer. He's innocent and all these things. Now, my question here is, would there be conditions attached to his release? Maybe there may be conditions attached to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's release. Don't be surprised, because like I told you guys before, if you guys are always following me, I'm telling you that the North are always pressuring Bola Ahmed Tinubu that before he's going to release Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu should sign a particular deal. Now, for me, I feel that before Martin Nnamdi Kanu is going to be released, Bola Ahmed Tinubu may tell him to what they may give him some conditions, and if he can't meet up with the conditions, that means he'll still continue to be in detention. Now, whatever resolution they are planning, the truth remains that Martin Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer to them. Now, often this what are the political implications of all these things? Sometimes often involves deals that are outside the court justification, could be a part of a larger plan for national reconciliation or election strategy. So that is what it means. So sometimes it includes conditions like dropping certain demand, signing peace of accord, agreeing to dialogue with the federal government. Now, this revelation confirms what many of us have suspected. The federal government knows it cannot win this case legally, so they are shifting to politics. But we must be careful. Political solutions often come with secret deals. Let's call out the national unity and justice line. Justice means releasing a man who has been illegally detained. National unity cannot be built on oppression. Now, let's ask ourselves, do you believe this out of court political solution is the right path? What compromises do you think they might demand? Should Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team accept any political deal or fight to the end in court for a legal victory? That is the question. Should Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team accept the political deal, or should they just fight it to the end in court? Since they already know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is innocent, should they just accept it, or should they just try their best and fight it to the end in court for a legal victory? That is the question. So I want you guys to actually drop your comment below. Now, while the push for political solution is growing, this is what Honorable Obi Agocha directly told us. He said that momentum for a political solution has grown in recent months, aimed raising concerns over the implication of Kanu's continued detention on regional stability and national cohesion. Now, let me break it down for you guys. His detention is now seen as a security risk, not just a legal matter. There are fears of escalating tensions in the southeast if the case drags on. National unity is being threatened because many feel Kanu's detention is politically motivated. Now, in the shift approach, a number of political leaders and stakeholders have begun to support a shift away from hardline tactics towards more inclusive dialogue. This suggests growing pressure inside the political class to abandon the military and legal hardline. Dialogue means IPOB and federal government might actually sit at the same table. Now, a lasting solution will require sensitivity, understanding, and willingness of all parties to prioritize peace over conflict. This is the first time we are hearing a sitting lawmaker openly call for sensitivity and understanding in Kanu's case. It means even within Abuja, they know the current approach is failing. Ongoing talks could pave the way for a breakthrough in the near future. That line right there tells you the negotiations are serious. If he's saying near future, it means deals are already being discussed. The question is, what exactly are the terms? Do you think this momentum will finally lead to Kanu's release? Should IPOB agree to a political deal or fight to get a clear legal victory? Because for me, I don't think IPOB should actually agree to a political deal, because all these political deals, it comes with conditions. They may give Mazi Nnamdi Kanu conditions of renouncing Biafra and submit his international passport. It will just be like a house arrest. But if the IPOB, that if the Justice of Biafra fight to get a clear legal victory, you find out that all these conditions will not be added to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu reading. So another question is this a genuine path to peace or just another trick to silence agitation? For me, you can never trust the federal government. So they'll just be looking at them and be watching them. This may actually be a trick, to silence agitation. Nobody knows. It may be a trick. Now, the political weight of Obi Agocha's statement. This man is not an activist, but a sitting lawmaker speaking on Arise TV. His constant presence in court sessions shows personal interest in the case, suggests that the matter has moved beyond the judiciary into high-level political discussions. Now, why a political solution now? Rising insecurity in the southeast is forcing Abuja to reconsider hardline tactics. 2027 elections are around the corner, and no administration wants to lose Igbo support. International pressures from human rights organizations is mounting. Court victories for Kanu's team, like the Court of Appeal ruling, make legal prosecution weak. Now, the meaning of out-of-court settlement, let me explain to you guys. Alternative dispute resolution ADR remains bypassing the courtroom to find what mutual agreement. It could include dropping all charges and unconditional what release, conditional release with signed agreement, a formal peace negotiation between IPOB and what federal government. That is what settling out of court means. And I've seen a lot of people coming out to say that settling out of court is just a bad narrative of releasing what Martin Nnamdi Kanu. That why are they even going to be saying that Martin Nnamdi Kanu is going to be released with conditions and it's going to be a signed what agreement? And people are saying that instead of them releasing Martin Nnamdi Kanu with condition, it's better that the indigenous people of Biafra fight it legally, like make sure that the victory is won legally, than signing conditions with the federal government, because the federal governments are so evil. Now, conditions that might be tied to political resolution: IPOB halting certain protests or activities, Kanu making a public statement on peace and unity, governments agreeing to address some Igbo marginalization what issues, possible amnesty style agreement similar to Niger Delta what militants. What this reveals about Abuja's position shows the federal government knows continuing the legal battle is risky. It proves the case has become more political than criminal, suggests fear of wider instability if Kanu what remains detained. Now, Obi Agocha's emphasis on national cohesion means the government sees Kanu's release as tied to Nigerians' what future stability. Now, keeping him detained could deepen ethnic what divisions. A peaceful resolution might open doors for dialogue with other agitating what groups. Now, will IPOB trust the government enough to enter into political talks? Are these talks sincere or another attempt to buy time? What role will Southeast governors and Honeze play in these negotiations? Can peace be achieved without addressing the root cause? Kanu has raised restructuring, referendum, and what marginalization. Just like I told you guys, no matter what they want to do, no matter the resolution they want to do, all I know is that Martin Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer to them. Now, why the timing is critical: the court is currently on vacation, giving room for behind the scenes talk. The government might want to conclude negotiations before the next hearing to avoid embarrassment in court. International observers are watching closely. A political deal now could repair what Nigerians' image. Now, signals of internal division in government. If lawmakers are speaking openly about political resolutions, it means not everyone in Abuja agrees with the hardline what stance. There may be a rift between security agencies who want to keep Kanu detained and politicians who want what dialogue. Some northern allies might resist a deal unless certain conditions are met, showing a north-south power or struggle. Implications for IPOB. A political settlement could redefine IPOB status in Nigeria from being tagged as a terrorist group to be recognized as a what? A political movement. Could open the door for structured dialogue between IPOB and federal government. Now, this raises the questions: will IPOB members accept any compromise or insist on total self-determination? Effect on Southeast politics. Kanu's release through a political settlement could shift the balance of power in Igbo land. It could pressure governors and political leaders to take a clearer stand on Biafra and restructuring. Could even affect voting patterns in 2027 elections, making the Igbo bloc more united or divided depending on the deal. Legal versus political debate. If the case ends via ADR, it bypasses judicial system entirely. Now, this raises a question: does this mean the court process was irrelevant from the start? It could set a precedent where political cases are never resolved in court, but through backdoor deals. Now, possible international role. International organizations like the UN or AU could be silent towards mediators. Diaspora IPOB members might influence the negotiation since they control funding and propaganda. A successful political solution could boost Nigeria's diplomatic standing if handled transparently. Risk of a political deal. If the deal includes If the deal includes secret terms, it may cause mistrust and backlash from IPOB supporters. Government may use it as a propaganda while still was suppressing dissent. If conditions are too strict, Kanu might reject the statement, causing talks towards collapse. Symbolism of Obi Agocha's word. The fact he used terms like peace, diplomatic resolution, national cohesion shows this is no longer just about one man, but about the future of Nigeria. His statement on Arise TV means this information was meant for public consumption, possibly to prepare Nigerians for a major what decision. So for the fact that this man actually mentioned dialogue and dissolution, it means that, for the fact that he mentioned dialogue and diplomatic resolution, it shows this is no longer just about one man but about the future of Nigeria. Just like I told you guys that we're not only agitating for the freedom of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, we are agitating for the freedom of everybody, because if they can treat Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who is a British citizen, like this, that means we the common people, they can do us anyhow, and they can even put us in jail for straight, or even sentence us to jail, because of we are trying to speak for our right, or we are calling for what self-determination. So guys, this is something we normally do here. It's just like a ritual we do here. So I want you guys to actually please type in the comment section, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not what justice denied, because it's a kind of ritual we do here every time, so that the federal government will know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is innocent and he needs to actually be released. So guys, please type in the comment section, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not what justice denied. So let's go on. Let's take a look at in the economic angle. Kanu's continued detention has indirectly what halt economic activities in the southeast. Example, sit at home orders. A political solution could stabilize the region and restore what investor was confidence. Businesses and traders are likely what pushing quietly for his release to revive what commerce. Role of tradition and religious leaders. Behind the scene negotiation might involve Igbo elders, clergy, and cultural leaders acting as what mediators. Such involvement would give the settlement more what legitimacy. It raises these questions: are Southeast leaders united in pushing for Kanu's release, or divided by politics? Federal government motivation. A political settlement could be part of Tinubu's strategy to win over the Southeast for 2027. Reducing tensions in the region can help the federal government focus on other security crises, banditry, and Boko Haram. Abuja may also want to avoid creating a martyr figure out of Kanu by keeping him what locked out what indefinitely. Now, public opinion management. Leaking this info via Obi Agocha on Arise TV could be a way to test what public reaction before finalizing any deal. It allows the government to gauge whether Nigerians would accept a political resolution over a court judgment. Now, media strategy. Choosing Arise TV is a strategic. It has credibility and reaches both allies and what ordinary Nigerians. The language used here, peaceful, diplomatic, national unity, suggests careful scripting to make the settlement look what patriotic. Now, impact on other separate movements. A political deal with Kanu might set a precedent for how the federal government handles other agitation movements like Oduduwa Republic, Middle Belt activities. Could either encourage more dialogue-based resolutions or spark demands from other groups. Now, legal ramifications. Dropping the case or ending it politically may expose the flaws in how Kanu was abducted from Kenya, could trigger lawsuits or demand for compensation if it's admitted he has no case to answer. Now, risk of failure. If negotiations collapse and Kanu remains in detention, it could trigger renewed agitation and protests in the southeast, international condemnation for ignoring diplomatic options, loss of credibility for any political advocating peace. Now, the psychological game here. The federal government might use these political solution talks to soften IPOB, test their willingness to compromise. It could also be a tactic to divide IPOB leadership between moderators and hardliners. National unity as a bargaining tool. The repeated mention of national unity may hint that the federal government would demand public statements or actions from Kanu to promote peace if he's released. Could be similar to peace accords signed in other conflicts was resolutions globally. So guys, as I'm telling you guys the honest truth, you see this condition of a thing that they want to give to Martin Nnamdi Kanu, it's not going to work. I don't even think Martin Nnamdi Kanu will ever accept that kind of condition. Now, let's go on. Historical precedent. Nigeria has used political settlements in the past. Niger Data Amnesty Program under Yaradua Ojukwu's pardon after the civil war. Comparing Kanu's situation to those can help viewers see patterns in how Abuja resolves what high stake conflict. Now, international law fact: out of court settlement might be a way to avoid facing international legal scrutiny over Kanu's extraordinary detention from Kenya. If they negotiate, federal government may try to close the case quietly to prevent further lawsuits in foreign world court. Role of diaspora: IPOB has strong influence from the diaspora community. Any settlement may lead to involve or convince international IPOB branch, otherwise it was risk rejection. Raises the question: would the diaspora accept a compromise? Impact on IPOB bank and file: a political settlement could test IPOB unity. Some members may see it as victory, others may see it as betrayal if it does not include what referendum talks. Could create a split between hardliners and moderators within what the movement. Now, Tinubu political gamble: I'm telling you guys what Tinubu's political gamble. If Tinubu's government pushes this deal, it could either make him a hero in the southeast if handled well, backfire badly if seen as a fake peace move, or if conditions are too harsh. His political legacy in the east may depend on on this decision. Now, the court vacation. Let's be talking about the court vacation now. The timing of these revolutions during the court break might not be coincidence. Federal government may be using this pause to avoid public court battles while negotiating in the background. When the court resumes, we might see a dramatic announcement or sudden adjournment. Now, possible involvement of foreign mediators. There could be silent roles by British government. Kanu is a UK citizen. AU or UN diplomats encouraging dialogue. This could explain the push for a diplomatic resolution. Now, testing IPOB demand. ADR allows federal government to fill out IPOB's bottom line demands without committing publicly. Helps the government see if there's a middle ground short of full self-determination. Implications for the judiciary: if the case is resolved politically, it will raise questions about Nigerian judiciary being sidelined. Now, could spark debates on whether courts are independent or just tool of politics. Security agencies' role: DSS and military hawks may resist releasing Kanu without guarantees of peace. This could create internal power struggles between the security apparatus and the political class. Now, media management going forward: more leaks or exclusive interviews might be used to prepare the public gradually. Obi Agocho's interview may just be the first step in conditioning Nigerians for a deal. What are the possible outcome of this settlement? I'm telling you guys the possible outcome of this settlement. Meanwhile, please guys, if you know you're new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and also please turn on your notification button to be getting all the latest news in this channel, because we actually talk about Nnamdi Kanu and everything the federal government are about to do concerning Nnamdi Kanu's case. And also, please guys, share this live so that these people understand that Nnamdi Kanu is an innocent man. The Nigerian government are just keeping an innocent man in continuous detention since 2021 to date. Now, I'm telling you guys the possible outcomes of the settlement. Number one is unconditional release. Ends detention, restores trust in law, boosts federal government credibility. Now, conditional release may require Kanu to sign peace deals or limit political activity. Partial settlement: some charges dropped while some case drags on, buying federal government more time. That is just the possible outcome of this settlement. The possible outcome is that if it may be unconditional release, and once it's on the conditional release, it will end Nnamdi Kanu's continuous detention. Now, someone said here, King David said division of Nigeria is what will be best. Like, it's not even a new thing now, because Nnamdi Kanu has always been saying that division of Nigeria will always be the best, that Igbos should go their way and let others go their way, because they have found out that these people are only favoring themselves. They're only favoring a particular region, which is the north. And that's the major reason he was saying we need to rewrite 1999 constitution. The 1999 constitution is only used to favor a particular region and a particular tribe, which Nnamdi Kanu found out a very long time ago and was telling the federal government, but they don't want to listen. Now, symbolism of peace over conflict. Obi Agoche's choice of word highlights that even lawmakers acknowledge the current approach has bred more tension than peace. It suggests the federal government may be ready to shift from suppression to negotiation if it guarantees stability. Now, electoral calculations. Southeast votes are critical for 2027 elections. A political settlement now could be a way to secure goodwill from Igbo voters ahead of time. This move could also reduce agitation during election campaigns campaigns, preventing voter apathy or what boycott. Now, silent role of Southeast governors. Even if they aren't publicly mentioned, governors likely know about the talks. Their position could determine whether the settlement gains support in the region. Are they united behind this move or divided along what party lines? Now, people have been saying about the silent role of the Southeast governors, because sometimes we ask ourselves, why are the Southeast governors? The Southeast governors are looking as if these people are betrayals to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Because tell me why these people know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is in continuous detention, but still they are not saying anything, about their own brother. They're not saying anything about it. So the question here they're asking is, are these people going to actually be united in this thing? Are they going to are they united behind this move, or are they divided along what party lines? This their positions could determine whether the settlement gains support in the region. Because I found that one thing, the Southeast governors always are not always supporting what their brother Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I don't know why they're not always supporting. Now, the psychological war linking info about negotiations can be a tactic to test IPOB's readiness to compromise. It can also pressure Kanu's team by framing refusal to negotiate as being against what peace. Now, national image management. A peaceful resolution would help Nigeria's international reputation, especially after the Kenya redemption scandal. It would show the government can use diplomacy, not just force, to handle what internal conflict. Now, ethnic balance in politics. A political statement could be presented as proof that the Tinubu administration wants to heal ethnic wound. It might also open discussions on restructuring, power sharing, and constitutional reforms to address what Igbo was grievance. Now, possible backlash. Some northern power blocks might oppose any deal they see as rewarding what agitation could cause internal political friction if the North believes it weakens what federal authority. Now, balancing regional reactions be part of negotiation complicity. Public reaction as a deciding factor. If Nigerians respond positively to these revelations, it can accelerate what the settlement. Negative reaction could force the federal government to backtrack or adjust the deal terms. Economic cost of delay. Every month, Kano stays in detention. The Southeast loses billions due to insecurity and sit-at-home orders. A deal will not only be political, but economic, potential, and boosting trade and infrastructure world development. Unspoken amnesty deal. Talks of national unity and peace hint at possible amnesty-style arrangements, similar to Niger Delta what militants. Amnesty would mean clearing charges, reintegration, and possible government-funded reconciliation what programs. IPOB internal pressure. Kanu's lawyers and farmers are under pressure to bring him home. Negotiations may force them to weigh his personal freedom against IPOB what larger political goals. Now, timeline of a breakthrough. Obi's mention of near future suggests an announcement could happen before the court resumes or in the next what major hearing. The suddenness of such a deal could shock both the supporters and critics. Now, lessons for Nigerian government. A political solution in Kanu's case could teach Abuja that dialogue works better than force, might reshape how the federal government handles other ethnic, regional, and what separate tensions in the future. That is it. So, this is a lesson that dialogue, it speaks better than what force. Anything you're using force to do, it will never work. So dialogue is just the best thing. Now, the role of judiciary was credibility. If the case ends in a political settlement, people will question whether Nigerian courts have any power when politics what get involved. Now, could spark debate on judicial independence and what reform. Message to other agitators: how the federal government handles Kanu's case sends a signal to other separatists or activists or movements. Agitation gets result if there's a deal, or the state can suppress you if the talks collapse and the tension what continues. Security tension management. DSS and military may demand guarantees before release, such as a ceasefire on IPOB activities, sign agreements to avoid protests or violence. These demands can become sticking points in negotiation. Social media influence. IPOB's online campaigns have kept Kanu's case in the public eye. Public opinion online can influence how the federal government handles the talk. Leaks like Obi Agoche's statement may be aimed at shaping online discourse before what any announcement. Now, possible role of British diplomacy. As a UK citizen, Kanu's case has been raised in British Parliament before. The UK government might be quietly what pressuring Nigeria to resolve the matter politically to avoid further diplomatic strain. Healing historical wounds. A political statement could be presented as a step toward healing post-Civil War Igbo grievance, could spark larger discussions on restructuring and equity for the Southeast in Nigeria's world federation. Now, risk of tokenism. If the statement doesn't address root causes, marginalization, autonomy debate, it could be seen as a what cosmetic move, might lead to temporary calm but not lasting peace. Now, this is the grassroots expectations. Many in the southeast sees Kanu release as justice. If if a settlement comes with heavy condition or restriction, there may be public backlash even if it's what freed. Role of civil society and NGOs. Human rights groups may demand transparency in the negotiation process. NGOs could push for reforms to prevent future extraordinary retentions or illegal detentions. Now, the breakthrough narrative. Obi Agocho's optimism about a breakthrough could be internationally messaging to calm tensions while talks continues, to prepare the public psychological for a major decision or compromise. Now, power dynamic inside IPOB. How Kanu handles negotiation could determine IPOB's future leadership dynamic. If he agrees to terms, will all IPOB factions follow him, or will some reject the deal and continue agitation? Now, media timing. Choosing Arise TV, a respected platform, indicate these statements were meant to reach both Nigerian elites and grassroots at the same time. Could be the first to step in a calculated public rollout of the statement narrative. Potential for international mediation. A third-party mediator, AU, UN, or ECOWAS, could be involved quietly to ensure neutrality. This would give the settlement more legitimacy and reduce distrust between IPOB and federal government. Now, the economic incentive for peace. Federal government may tie a deal to economic promises like infrastructure, job creation, or investment in the southeast to sell the settlement as a win-win. Long-term political impact. If the political solution succeeds, it could become a reference point in Nigerian politics for how to resolve ethnic and separatist crises. If it fails, it might harden positions on both sides and make future dialogue impossible. Just like I told you guys, Nnamdi Kanu has no case to answer to the Nigerian government. Like, the man is innocent, that he has nothing to answer to them. Now, someone here said, there's a comment here. The person said Nnamdi Kanu should be free. He's not the Nigerian problem of Nigeria. Like, exactly. Nnamdi Kanu is not Nigeria's problem. There are many problems that should be done in this country. Problems of insecurity, problems of hardship, problems of food scarcity. It should be it should be talked about in Nigeria. So Nnamdi Kanu is not their problem. Why are they actually detaining this man? Instead of them to be the time they're using to detain Nnamdi Kanu, they can use it to do something better in Nigeria. Let's go on. Negotiation as a test of Tinubu's leadership. This is Tinubu's first major national unity challenge. How he handles Kanu's case could define his image as either a bridge builder or a continuation of Buhari's hardline stance. Possible role of secret committees. Often in political settlements, secret committees handle talks away from the public eye. There may already be a peace panel linking federal government representative, Kanu's family, and legal team. Impact on security operation in Southeast. If a deal is closed, we may see DSS and military activity in the region reduce quietly to create an environment for negotiation. Now, this could be an early sign of de-escalation. Preparing public opinion. Links like Obi Agocha's interview may be part of a soft campaign to prepare Nigerians for an eventual announcement. This allows federal government to measure public reaction and adjust terms before going public with a deal. Now, fear of escalation. Intelligence reports may have warned the federal government that Kanu's prolonged detention could trigger uncontrollable unrest in the southeast. This fear alone could be driving the urgency for a political solution. Now, balancing justice and politics. A settlement has to balance legal justice for Kanu and political stability for Nigeria. If it leans too much on politics, it might undermine the rule of law. If it focuses only on law, it might ignore the urgent need for peace. Now, the humanitarian dimension. Beyond politics, Kanu's health and long detention raises humanitarian concerns. Human rights activists may use this to push for a compassionate release as part of the settlement. Diaspora lobby pressure. IPOB diaspora networks have influence in what Western capitals. These negotiations may be partially responding to diplomatic pressure from abroad to avoid sanctions or damage to Nigeria's global image. Risk of dividing the Southeast. If the deal is seen as too favorable to the federal government or too compromising for IPOB, it could create division among Igbo political, cultural, and grassroots groups. A united or divided response could undermine if the settlement sticks, setting a precedent for referendum talks. Even if the settlement does not include self-determination, it could open door for future structured conversations about referendum or restructuring. Now, media language, words like peaceful, diplomatic, national cohesion are carefully chosen to frame the settlement as patriotic or unifying. The language itself is a signal that Abuja wants to seal the deal as a win for Nigeria and not a cohesion to IPOB. Now, potential compromises. Federal government might demand Kanu renounces violence and commits to peaceful agitation. IPOB suspend activities deemed secessionist. Now, Kanu's team might demand unconditional release, recognition of IPOB as a political and not a terrorist organization. Now, opportunity for truth and reconciliation. A statement could include a larger truth and reconciliation initiative to address long-standing Igbo grievances, healing wounds beyond just Kanu's detention. Now, managing expectations. Even if negotiations succeed, the public may expect more than what is agreed. Federal government and Kanu's team will need to manage expectations to avoid backlash if the deal isn't sweeping enough. Now, significance of near future. Obi Agoche use of near future suggests this isn't a distant plan, but an active negotiation with possible announcement soon. This could mean a breakthrough before the next major court date or within the next political quarter. So for me, I feel that the reason why they're going behind us now to negotiate Kanu's release is because of his next court case, which is coming up on October 10th, 2025. Maybe they already know that if they did not release Mazen Nnamdi Kanu on October 10th, 2025, there's going to be a serious problem. Like the indigenous people of Biafra are going to start a very violent protest. That's why you see they're actually going behind the door to negotiate with his family and his legal teams on his release. Now, the role of the National Assembly. Obi Agoche's statement might hint that some lawmakers are lobbying quietly for Kanu's release. The House of Representatives could push a formal resolution urging the federal government to pursue a political solution. Nigeria's fragile federal structure. Kanu's case has exposed cracks in Nigerian federalist system. A political settlement could become the first step in renegotiating how Nigeria's region coexist. Now, fear of international tribunal cases. Federal government might be worried Kanu's legal team could take the redemption case to international court. A political statement could be used to shut down or neutralize such actions. Now, possible role of Igbo business elites. Wealthy Igbo businessmen may be mediating quietly to secure peace for economic stability. Their influence could make the deal easier to sell to grassroots supporters. Federal government image repair. Tinubu's administration inherited the detention from Buhari. By resolving it politically, Tinubu could paint himself as a peacemaker who healed a national wound. Now, impact on IPOB structure. A settlement might force IPOB to reorganize into a formal political or advocacy group. This could shift it from being seen as a separate movement towards a legitimate voice for the Southeast. Now, symbolical timing. Federal government might choose a symbolical date like Independence Day, Democracy Day to announce the deal to frame it as a national unity gesture. Military vs political class. The case may expose tension between Nigerian security establishment and elected officials. A political settlement may face resistance from those who want a purely secret-based approach. Lessons from Niger Delta Amnesty. The Niger Delta Amnesty reduced violence but also created a dependency culture. Negotiations will be studying the precedent to avoid repeating mistakes in Kanu's case. Negotiation as a national test. How this case is resolved will be seen as a test of Nigeria's ability to handle ethnic and political crises without violence. Failure could embolden separatist groups. Success could become a model for peace building. Now, the role of religion. Churches and religious leaders in the Southeast may pressure both sides to reach a deal. A religious endorsement of the settlement could make it more acceptable to the public. Global media watch. International press will cover any settlement, framing it as a major story of Africa politics and human rights. Nigeria will want to ensure the due project stability and progress. The danger of mistrust. Any hint of betrayal in the settlement could reignite agitation. Negotiators will need airtight guarantees to avoid breaking trust on both sides. Now, let's talk about the youth involvement. Young people in the southeast are the most affected by insecurity and the sit at home. The acceptance of the settlement will determine whether it truly what brings peace. Risk or silent conditions. If the settlement includes secret clauses, example, restricting Kanu's movement, speech or politics, it could spark what future what controversy. Preparing Kanu supporters. The public narrative now may be aimed at psychologically what preparing IPOB supporters for a negotiated outcome instead of a total court what victory. Now, cultural symbolism. Kanu's release via political settlement could be seen as a symbolical what recognition of Igbo political relevance in Nigerians for unity. Role of external intelligence. Foreign intelligence agencies might be quietly advising the federal government to resolve the case peacefully to prevent regional instability spilling over borders. Humanitarian PR move. Federal government could frame the settlement as an act of compassion due to Kanu's health and long detention, softening what public criticism. Possible phased agreements. Instead of an immediate release, negotiation could include phase step, relaxing charges, improving detention condition bail, full political war settlement. So, like I told you guys earlier, Nnamdi Kanu has nothing to answer to these people. He's an innocent man. So no matter what they are trying to do, it's not going to work. No matter what that, even if they give him conditions, I don't even think he's going to accept those conditions because Nnamdi Kanu is someone that will tell you that in fact I won't collect this kind of if the conditions you're giving him is just like him being in prison, then Nnamdi Kanu is not going to what accept that conditions. Now, Obi Agoche's mention of regional stability hints that the Southeast crisis could spill into neighboring states if not what addressed. A political settlement may be aimed at calming not just the East but also preventing rippling effects in the South. Generational politics. The younger generation in the Southeast largely supports Kanu. A settlement that ignores their aspiration might lead to a generational backlash, even if other allies agree to it. Now, silent role of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo. The Apes Igbo such a cultural group may be acting as a mediator behind closed doors. Their eventual endorsement or rejection of the deal will heavily influence public perception. Now, the possible use of amnesty commission. Nigerian amnesty office could be used to structure the settlement similar to Niger Delta programs, providing legal cover for dropping charges. Now, political messaging strategy. The federal government might frame the settlement as healing Nigerians' wounds to make it a national and not ethnic issue. This could help sell the deal across all regions. Now, avoiding illegal precedent. A political settlement might be chosen to avoid a court ruling that could set a precedent for challenging extraordinary detentions and state abuse. Fear of martyrdom. Keeping Kanu in detention risks turning him to a permanent symbol of resistance. A negotiated release might be a strategy to diffuse his matter status gradually. The federal character politics. Abuja may use the settlement to show federal character and balance ethnic politics, signaling inclusion of Igbo voices in national decision making. Now, impact on security budget. Ongoing military oppression in the southeast cost billions. A political settlement could free up resources and reduce military strain. Testing Nigerians' unity and narrative. Testing Nigerians' unity narrative. This case is now a limited test. Can Nigerians' unity survive through dialogue or only through force? The outcome will define the one Nigerian narrative was for years. Now, use of back channel diplomacy. Secret envoys may already be shuttling between Abuja Southeast leaders and Kanu's legal team to build trust before an official announcement. The optics of forgiveness. Federal government might frame the settlement as an act of national forgiveness, even if it quietly admits Kanu has no case to answer. This saves face for the government while achieving peace. Balancing national security laws. A political deal might require amending or suspending certain security provisions under which Kanu was charged, sparking debate on Nigerian security laws. Now, impacts on Biafra narrative. A negotiated Biafra release might shift the Biafra debate from street agitation to boardroom dialogue, changing how the movement is perceived. Now, the vacation window strategy, using the court vacation period for negotiation, allows the federal government to avoid dramatic court confrontations while quietly what shaping a settlement. Now, role of Kanu's personal stance, his willingness or refusal to accept terms will determine everything. If he rejects conditions, it could prolong the tension but solidify his standing with hardline what supporters. Now, symbol of political maturity, successfully negotiating Kanu's release could be portrayed as Nigeria maturing politically, choosing dialogue over decades was of suppression. Now, on 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 DSS. Pressure on DSS. DSS faces increasing criticism over what prolonged detention. A settlement could allow them to hand off the case without admitting what wrongdoing. Leveraging Kanu's influence for peace, federal government may try to use Kanu himself as a tool for calming the region post-release, turning him into a peace ambassador in exchange for freedom. Now, global lessons. If resolved politically, Kanu's case could become a case study for conflict resolution in multi-ethnic African states. Universities and policy institutions may study it as a model of negotiation in post-colonial world nations. So that is, see, one thing I keep telling everybody is that you see everything that the federal government are trying to do. Maybe now they're trying to start negotiating with the family of Nnamdi Kanu because of ahead of the October 10th when he's going to be coming to court. So they know that if Nnamdi Kanu is not released on October 10th, there's going to be serious problem. They're already aware of this. Now, timing before the next court date. Negotiations might aim to conclude before the next court section to avoid what legal embarrassment or a ruling that limits what federal government options. Preventing international sanctions. A prolonged illegal detention risks what sparking sanctions or travel bans from Western governments. A political state settlement could be used to preempt international punitive what actions. Possible role of ECOWAS court. Now, Kanu's legal team could push the case to ECOWAS court. A settlement avoids a situation where Nigeria is forced to obey an external court ruling. Now, leveraging settlement for reforms. Negotiations might include broader promises like constitutional review or regional autonomy to address root issues beyond what Kanu's case. Psychological impact on IPOB base. A successful deal could emerge IPOB supporters, or if seen as sellout, demoralize what's there. Negotiators must balance what perception was carefully. Now, the quiet rule of foreign churches. International Christian networks sympathetic to Igbo Christians might be quietly lobbying for a peaceful settlement. Fear of a second front. With insecurity in the northwest and middle belt, federal government cannot afford another full-scale crisis in the east. This urgency might be driving the rush for a political solution. Now, media as a softening tool. The choice leak via Arise TV shows an attempt to use credible media to prepare both elites and masses for a negotiated endgame. Now, Kanu's legal team limited public reactions may indicate that they are under a confidential agreement as talk proceed. Silence itself could be a sign of active negotiation. Now, lessons for federalism. The case could reignite national debates on true federalism, resource control, and regional autonomy as ways to avoid future conflicts. Use of alternative dispute resolution. ADR is a legal term. It mentions how the talks are structured, not just informal politics. This could give any final settlement legal legitimacy in court record. Now, symbolism of a peace deal. Nigeria hasn't had a formal peace deal with an internal separatist group since the Civil War. Kanu's case could mark a historic moment of reconciliation if framed as such. Now, testing Southeast unity. The settlement will review if the region can unite behind one voice or if internal divisions will undermine the outcome. Gradual demilitarization. If talks are real, we may soon see a gradual withdrawal of heavy security presence from Southeast towns as a goodwill gesture. Role of public sentiment. Public pressure from Nigeria across all regions can influence how fast and in what shape the settlement is reached. Health factor. Kanu's health issues may be used as justification for a humanitarian or medical-based release under political settlement, avoiding a legal precedent on redemption. The settlement helps the federal government avoid setting a precedent that extraordinary redemption can be challenged and overturned in Nigeria or international courts. Now, Now, opportunity for regional development. The federal government may tie the settlement to new federal projects in the southeast to frame it as part of a peace and development work package. Now, risk of secret agreement. Hidden clauses may exist. Example, limiting political activities. If exposed later, they could spark backlash and what mistrust. Preparing for a national address. If the settlement succeeds, Tinubu might use a nationwide broadcast to frame it as a historical what step for unity. So I think that all these things that they are trying to settle out of court, they're doing it at the bar because they don't want a process whereby in during 10th October, Nnamdi Kanu is not released. There's going to be a serious problem in Nigeria. Now, the optics of compromise, federal government must make the deal appear as a win-win to avoid looking weak. IPOB must make it look like a victory for the people to maintain what credibility. Silent monitoring by what African Union. AU often steps in for political detainees. They might be quietly what observing to ensure Nigeria avoids a continental what scandal. Managing northern backlash. Some northern allies may see a settlement as capitulation. Federal government may need to balance by offering northern concessions or framing the deal as for national peace rather than what a regional what win. Legal cover for settlement. Settlement terms may be filed in court to make it legally binding and avoid what future what dispute. This could also give the judiciary face-serving participation. Now, risk of parallel agitation. If IPOB moderates accepts a deal, hardlines could form splinter groups rejecting it. Federal governments have to plan for containing any breakaway IPOB faction. The unity narrative for 2027 campaigns. Tinubu may use a successful settlement as a campaign slogan to show how he healed Nigerians with ethnic division. Now, face saving for DSS. Federal government might frame the settlement to make DSS look like they successfully what maintained peace, not like they overstayed by detaining Kanu what illegally. Now, precedent for future dialogue. If this works, Nigeria may use political settlements more often for internal crisis instead of what armed what suppression. Fear of global advocacy network. Continued detention risks triggering more lobbying in US Congress, AU Parliament, and UK what Parliament. A settlement neutralizes the growing international campaign. The symbol of one Nigeria or two Nigeria. How the settlement is framed could either strengthen the one Nigeria narrative or highlight that the union survives only what through what constant what negotiation. Now, economic pressure on federal government. Prolonged insecurity in the east hurts national GDP and federal what revenue. A settlement could be sold as an economic necessity, not just what political goodwill. Inclusion of youth representative. A credible settlement may include youth voices to reflect the demographic most affected by sit-at-home and unrest. Human rights scorecard. Tinubu's administration can use the settlement to improve Nigeria's ranking in global human rights watch report. Preparing a national war dialogue. Kanu's case could become the entry point for a larger national conference or restructuring, devolution, and what ethnic what relations. Using Kanu as a peace ambassador, federal government might require him to make a public call for calm and dialogue as part of the deal. Now, risk of media misinformation. Without official transparency, rumors can dominate the narrative. Managing accurate information will be critical to avoid what distrust. Diaspora investment angle. A peaceful resolution could attract Igbo diaspora investment back to the southeast economy, creating what jobs and stability. Now, vacation negotiation as a strategy. Because vacation creates a calm window for talks without public and legal drama. Suggest federal government deliberately what choose this timing for sensitive what negotiations. Now, the deal leak as a pressure what tactic. Making the talks public through Obi Agoche might be a strategy to lock both sides into what accountability by creating what public expectations. Now, generational leadership test. How Southeast leaders handle this moment to define their political what legacy for decades. Unity or division here will shape Igbo politics beyond what Kanu's case. So, like I told you guys that no matter what they are doing, that the man Nnamdi Kanu will never accept that conditions. He will never accept it. That is just it. So, balancing the judiciary role. Federal government might involve the court in the final settlement to avoid the perception that politicians overrule the judiciary. Could be done by a consent judgment to give the due legal what weight. Potential for a hybrid was solution. Instead of full release, federal government could combine conditional bail with political dialogue, creating a staged peace process. Now, legacy project for Tinubu. Tinubu may want to make this settlement his signature national unity achievement, similar to Yar'Adua's Niger Delta amnesty. Now, influence of international media, CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera have covered Kanu's detention. Federal government may want to avoid further bad press by resolving it diplomatically. Significance of using lawmaker as a spokesperson. Having Obi Agoche review the talks instead of a minister suggests a deliberate soft launch, testing public reaction without committing the federal government officially. Peace divided promises. Federal governments might tie the settlement to economic incentive like infrastructure funds, industrial zones, or federal appointments for Southeast leaders. Using settlement to weaken extremism. Federal government could argue that political dialogue works better than militancy, using Kanu's case as a model to counter extremist narrative nationwide. Now, the role of Elders Council. Igbo traditional institution may serve as guarantors for any agreement giving cultural weight to the settlement. Quiet influence of international lawyers. Foreign legal teams involved in Kanu's redemption case may be pressuring Nigeria into a settlement to avoid costly international litigation. Domestic peace building opportunity. This case could evolve into a larger peace building framework for Nigeria, addressing ethnic grievances beyond IPOB. Avoiding another Kenyan scandal. Settlement may be aimed at closing the chapter on Kanu's extraordinary redemption to prevent further diplomatic fallout with Kenya and other African states. Now, carrot and stick approach. Federal government may miss offers of dialogue with continued security presence to keep IPOB moderate while pressuring hardliners to accept peace terms. The health narrative. If Kanu's health is publicly emphasized, federal government can justify release as a humanitarian act rather than a political defeat. Potential use of referendum language. Settlements may include vague promises of future self-determination dialogue without committing to a referendum, satisfying moderators while containing hardliners. Pressure from business committees. Traders and business associations in Onitsha, Aba, and Enugu are tired of sit-at-home disruptions. They may be quietly lobbying for a political settlement. Now, avoiding a Mandela effect. Federal government fears keeping Kanu locked up too long could turn him into a larger-than-life figure like Nelson Mandela, making eventual negotiation much harder. Now, framing it as a restorative justice, settlement could be sold as restoring national unity while addressing underlying grievances of the Southeast. Leveraging settlement for international loans. Federal governments use the peace narrative to conceive international lenders, World Bank, IMF, that Nigeria is politically stable and safe for investment. Now, impact on 2027 zoning debate. A peaceful settlement now could threaten the argument for rotating the presidency to the Southeast in future election. The silence of the DSS not reacting to Obi Agoche's revelation could be a clue that the negotiations are indeed real and sanctioned from the top. That is just it. For the fact that DSS did not even react to Obi Agoche's point, it shows that what Obi Agoche is saying is actually the truth. Now, political bargaining chip. The federal government might be using Kanu's case as leverage to extract political concessions from Southeast leaders such as support for national policies. Now, reducing international human rights criticism. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have criticized Nigeria over Kanu's detention. A settlement could be used to neutralize this report and improve Nigerians' rights image, creating a peace process model. If successful, Kanu's case could be Nigeria as a peace silence from federal government. Federal government hasn't denied Obi Agoche's revelation, suggesting the link might be part of a controlled communication strategy to prepare the public. Now, testing public sentiment through social media. Government analysts are likely monitoring social platforms to gauge how Nigerians feel about a possible settlement before moving forward. Now, leveraging the settlement for foreign policy, Nigeria could use the resolution to project itself as a stable democracy when negotiation, trade, or diplomatic deals with Western powers. Preventing radicalization, prolonged detention risks pushing more youth into militancy. A political statement could be aimed at cutting off that recruitment pipeline. Quiet promises to IPOB. Federal government may offer unspoken guarantees like increased federal appointments for Igbos to make the deal more attractive. Now, legal amnesty package. Federal government may create a special amnesty decree to protect itself from future lawsuits over Kanu's extraordinary redemption. avoiding a generational what crisis. If unresolved, Kanu's detention could define Igbo youth politics for decades. A settlement now might prevent a long-term generational rift between the region and Nigeria. Security exit strategy. A political deal offers federal government a graceful exit from heavy militarization of the southeast without looking like I lost control. Influence of regional elections. Upcoming state elections in the southeast could be calmer if a statement reduces tensions before campaigns would begin, framing Kanu as a reconciler. Part of the statement might involve turning Kanu into a public advocate for peace and dialogue, reframing his image nationally. Now, preparing for international interviews. If freed, Kanu will likely give interviews. Federal government may set conditions to control the narrative in his first public statement to avoid recognition agitation. Now, building trust through small gestures. We might see small goodwill moves. First, better detention conditions, family access to signal serious negotiation before a big announcement. Now, long-term economic integration. A settlement could be tied to federal investment programs to fully integrate the Southeast economy into national plan. Diaspora political leverage. IPOB diaspora branches lobby foreign governments. A settlement may include outreach to them to ensure they don't undermine the deal internationally. Now, historical narrative management. Federal government will try to control how history remembers this moment, possibly framing it as Nigerian avoided another civil war through dialogue. Role of security report. Intelligence assessment likely to warn that continued detention poses national security risk, accelerating the push for a settlement. Now, the trial of Nigeria, Kanu's case has become less about him personally and more about whether Nigeria can resolve deep ethnic and political divides without violence. Now, guys, please, I want you to type in the comment section, because this is a normal thing we do here every time. It's just like a normal ritual that we do here. Please type in the comment section, free Nnamdi Kanu, and also say justice delayed is not justice denied. This is just a way of telling the federal government that Nnamdi Kanu is free and he must actually be released. So, guys, I want you to drop your comment below and also tell me what you really think about the federal government trying to negotiate with Nnamdi Kanu's family before his next court section. So, guys, I want you guys to actually drop your comment below, and also I want you to actually take a look at this video of what the lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu, Maxwell Okpara, has to say. And please, while at this, please drop your comment below, and I'll be right back to analyze more on what
Nnamdi Kanu. Have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the Constitution and the law.
Well, the government's angle is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate, but they said the way he was going about it, like and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
what of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe, so you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, they wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, Check since 1999, you have been having series of president. Just okay, let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate president is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal president is from where? National Industrial Court president is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
The chief of
Are you sure Max, are you sure you're not? I mean, it's just like what I said too. I mean, isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold all this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that there's
but the chief of Naval Staff is from the Southeast?
Huh?
The chief of Naval Staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position.
No,
number one person, number two person, number 3 person, number 4 person, number 5 person. The key position. We have 3 arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular government is in line with Federal Character Establishment Act, an act of National Assembly that said that you should carry everybody along. Section 14 of the Constitution also said that you should carry everybody along. And they are not doing all these things. You are telling me that, yes, now that you have removed Kennedy Handele and they are now brought in Jan Kojuku, that the people of Southeast will jubilate. Are you talking to idiots? Look at the people that you are talking about. Check, let me start with the sports. In football, the people that have made Nigeria proud are the people of Southeast. In commerce, in aviation industry, name it. In academics, they are from people of Southeast. But when it comes to power, they are not qualified. And we want them to be happy. Listen, let me tell you, like today that is Monday, go to Southeast. And my annoyance is that these things are avoidable for Christ's sake. They won at Nnamdi. They listen to the Kanu. Let us start addressing this issue. This early morning, somebody sent me a clip, something they posted. That they said from, I think they said next week, or the next 2 weeks, that there will be nothing like federal courts in the whole of Southeast. What do I mean by federal courts? Federal courts, National Industrial Court is a federal court. Federal High Court is a federal court. Court of Appeal is a federal court. Now, the judges that are there, most of them are not Igbos. Majority of them are not Igbos. How should you risk somebody to go and preside in the Court of Appeal over the judicial division, Oka Judicial Division, Enugu Judicial Division? How can you appoint somebody to go and preside in Federal High Court in the Southeast, National Industrial Court in the Southeast? And you are not even thinking about all this, and the judges are not even thinking about So the point we are talking about is that when there is a problem, look for a solution. Personally, somebody like us, we are not even, I'm defending Nnamdi Kanu, one of his lawyers. So when they say so you people are not doing what you're supposed to do, the person that is calling you, don't even know him. He's using the hidden number to call you. You don't even know what you're talking about. The only thing that is that you went to court and you were unable to bring Nnamdi Kanu out. What even say?
Okay, Maxwell, let me ask you this, because from what you're saying, I've also heard IPOB many times deny, allegations of being involved in some of the killings that happen in the Southeast and some of the, the ills that we see in the society. Even the sit-at-home in question, IPOB has also claimed that he has not asked anybody to sit at home. No, get my point. So the point I'm making is that from what you're saying, it would look as if what you're actually trying to say is that it's because Nnamdi is being held, yes, that is why the ills in the society in the Southeast has escalated. Does it have anything to do with him? That is what you're saying.
Do you know why? Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB is his initiative. He established it, he organized it. Now, when you now kidnapped him or adopted him, and unlawfully, because the Supreme Court have said that he was unlawfully brought into this country, and you kept him incommunicado, everybody on his own. This one we kill, you said at IPOB. This one we maim, you said at IPOB. Everybody on his own. That's why I asked you the question, who is IPOB? The IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. So Nnamdi Kanu, if Nnamdi Kanu is out, he will know who is who. Simon Ekpa will talk his own, Emma Powerful will talk his own, this one will talk his own, this one. Who is IPOB? That you are even talking. Simon Ekpa is in Finland. Emma Powerful, I don't know where he's operating from. Another person is operating from somewhere. Issuing threats. Just like the one somebody told me. I don't even know where that one is coming from. So the easiest way to is the one that you know. Nnamdi Kanu. Then tell Attorney General as he discontinued the charges against the president of Mieti Ala Kato, discontinue that of Showore, they are all terrorism. Tell them to discontinue this of that of Nnamdi Kanu, and allow Nnamdi Kanu to agitate. It is his right. I told you the other day.
You see, that's where the problem is, really. The guarantee, that there will not be problems, even if Nnamdi Kanu is, because you're saying allow him to agitate, and he goes about it the way he used to, like, the government have actually feared. That may also create more problems, don't you think?
Let me tell you, there are some things that you asked me the other day whether they are talking about condition given Nnamdi Kanu. I told you one question. I say, if you give Nnamdi Kanu condition that he feel after meeting up that condition, he will still live like a human being, so be it. But when you give him condition and you are removing that made him a human being, he will tell you no. What is that made you a human being? That thing that makes you a human being is your ability to exercise your fundamental rights. And when somebody said, now I'm going to employ you here, I will be paying you $500,000 every month, but you will not talk, you will not move out, you say, do away with your job. When somebody said, I'm going to release you, but I'll cut one of your hands, say no. The agitation for self-determination is a fundamental right. And if you people fail to understand it, I can agitate that I need the Republic of Maxwell. Yeah. It is my right. Anybody can agitate. I don't even need crowd to follow me. It is when you now feel that you have gotten the necessary need the necessary qualities, then so be it. It is now left for the president, who believe in democracy, who believe in government of the people by the people, to apply an initiative. What is the initiative? Release the person, start addressing all those issues that gave rise to this agitation. It has been there. Uwazuke was agitating during Obasanjo. A lot of people were agitating. So now that you have arrested, you come down Uwazuke that time, Nnamdi Kanu came up. Now that you have arrested Nnamdi Kanu, someone is there. I think this data from Ned Nwoko was telling you that even if you arrest Simon Ekpa today, another Simon Ekpa will come out. So the issue there is that address all those issues.
Right.
So for you, it's not about ministerial appointment.
No. That one. Okay, that is the complete distraction. It
shouldn't even come in.
Okay. After turning in now, let Bianca come and address the Igbos in Enugu.
All right.
So guys, you guys have listened to what the lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu said, right? You guys heard him clearly. Now, you can't give they have been saying that they're negotiating with Nnamdi Kanu's family and his legal team, before the court session, which is going to be coming up in the October 10th, 2025. Now, for me, I think that whatever the negotiation is, they should not just give him anything called conditions, because Nnamdi Kanu will never obey that conditions. He will not even do it. So it's better they should just release him unconditionally. By the way, he's not a criminal. They're supposed to release him unconditionally. He didn't commit any offense. So guys, that's all we have for today. I want you actually to drop your comments below. Tell me what you guys really think about this, for the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is now negotiating with Nnamdi Kanu's family and his legal team, before the court section, which will be coming up on October 10th, 2025. Guys, please drop your comment below. And also, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to click the subscribe button, like and share, please, and turn on the notification button to be getting all the latest news in this channel, because we'll be talking about everything about Nnamdi Kanu and what the federal government are doing to him in this channel. Please, guys, don't also forget to share this live section, so that if people will see that what the federal government is doing to Nnamdi Kanu is actually very, very bad. And also, please don't forget to hear your thoughts below. Drop your comments. Tell me what you guys really think about this. And also, see you guys in my next live section. So, guys, thanks for watching.